A lot of people, Leslie, want to sue with this idea, I'm going to become a millionaire, I'm going to get $200,000 or $300,000. The average lawsuit for an employment law settlement is around $30,000, $40,000. That's because that is the type of money that is carved out annually for an employer's budget.
If you feel that someone is treating you unfairly, get a third person to come in the room with you, and then you just say to that person, I feel that you are bullying me. I feel that you are targeting me. I feel that you're not giving me the opportunities that I am more than qualified for. I've been dedicated to this organization. Just simply having conversations. Back in the day, they used to say, you get a job and you stay there for 30 years and you retire. We're not living in those times anymore. If you are in an environment that is not working for you, sometimes the best solution is to just part ways. Hello and welcome to the Growth Motivator Live. I'm Dr. Lisa L. Campbell. I am so excited about today's episode because we have in the building the employment discrimination attorney, Chiquita Hall-Jackson.
Hello, everyone.
So, if you've ever heard me talk about being held hostage by salary and benefits when you know you need to be an entrepreneur, you've heard me talk about the importance of knowing your worth, knowing that you are the talent. Sometimes there's situations where your employer does not necessarily treat you the way that you should be treated from a discriminatory perspective. Now, I'm not an attorney. I have been an employee. And so I invited the employment discrimination attorney on the show today because I wanted her to really honestly help set some of you free. And so I've had an opportunity to hear her speak on multiple occasions. And when I tell you the information that she's going to provide you with today is going to be so valuable, towards the end, she will tell you how to contact her because there are some of you that are listening to this live show and you know that you definitely, potentially need some help. So, Attorney Jackson Hall, tell us a little bit about your background, how you got started, and why you chose discrimination law, employment law.
Hello, all, and thanks for having me, Lisa. I'm again Chiquita Hall-Jackson, and I am an employment attorney here in Chicago. And I chose to, one, I had to go through a few years of schooling, but after graduating from law school, I ultimately applied for 2 jobs, didn't get either one, and so I ended up stumbling upon entrepreneurship and started my own firm. And within starting my own firm, I started off with a general practice, and that consisted of basic civil litigation, which car accidents, child support disputes, family law, criminal law, and then ultimately I also did here and there some employment law. And those were the cases that actually stood out to me. My first case was someone that I went to undergrad with. Her father matriculated himself through the OSHA process, and so he eventually got a trial date. They call it administrative hearing. And she was like, my father's not going to trial by himself. Can you assist him? And I found this to be some age discrimination and retaliation there. And then 2, I had another colleague reach out to me. Her aunt was suffering sexual harassment in the workplace, and she asked that I take on her case. And we were successful in the Northern District of Illinois on the 7th Circuit. But it resonated with me, and it was something that I was so passionate about. And then I just started getting different employment law cases. And I was like, this is where I really want to be, and this is what I really enjoy. And so as of 2017, I made the decision that moving forward, we will focus primarily on employment law, and I dropped criminal law and family law, along with personal injury.
So you mean to tell me, every year, these organizations have you take this training, sexual harassment, culture and discrimination, yet discrimination of all forms is still running rampant in the organizations?
That is so true. And the crazy part, I'm glad you pointed that out. As we bring different litigation, in most situations, you have to start at the administrative level. And that is mostly the EEOC, because that's what everybody know to go to, or the Illinois Department of Human Rights for my jurisdiction. And within that, it's so funny. The first thing the respondent do in responding to the complaint is throw out these alleged policies that they have laying around and go through and show a screenshot of your portal where you actually took the training, the supervisor or the wrongdoer that you alleged did these actions against you. They took the trainings. That's their first line of defense. But despite having those policies and those handbooks, no one is actually following them and adhering to those.
Well, I think I shared with you at one point in time I wanted to be a health law attorney. And one reason that I wanted to get into health law is that I spent a significant amount of time in the healthcare compliance space. And I don't care how many rules you have, there's always going to be bad actors. And the bad actors think that they can hide behind their position, hide behind, who they know. But at the end of the day, I think, wrong is wrong. And if somebody is being discriminated against, those that are in the fiduciary role need to be held responsible. See, I told you I had a little bit of law, respondent superior, let the master answer.
She uses some of that lingo.
And honestly, in healthcare, we have, the whistleblower statute. And so I really wanted to get into health law, but then that contract class, that criminal law class, they tried to take me out. And I took them big green books and said, you just need to stick with healthcare compliance and just not do the legal route.
Understandable. It's rough. It's rough.
So can you tell me about a time in your life where you faced a significant challenge, whether it's personal, professional, and how you overcame it? Because you're an attorney, you're a wife, you're a mom, but you're still a person, right? So let our listening audience, viewing audience, hear from you about significant challenge.
I'll say recently the most significant challenges was I have built a team of, I want to say it was at least 5 of us, and including excluding my marketing person that I had brought in on the team. And around, I'll say June of last year, I got my first resignation letter from one of my employees that had been with me for 6 years. And then within months, in October of last year, my associate that had been with me for 3 years put in his resignation. And that left me with an intake specialist and a real estate paralegal. Now, we do conduct real estate closings and transactions across the board as far as closings for seller and buyer. But my primary focus and bread and butter is employment law. And you need as many hands in the pot as possible. So with that, it was a challenge trying to navigate me as the primary and only attorney. I had a paralegal that was doing the majority of my work. As far as discovery responses and writing those and responding to those. And so now trying to take on all that. But I actually, the silver lining was that I had just hired 3 contract attorneys and tested them out, and 1 survived, and that particular person had more experience than me. So the time that it took for me or my former associate to get something done, he got it done within the weekend. So it was, a blessing in disguise. And then I also stumbled upon coaching, this world of coaching, and invested in myself and realized that you deserve a team that is there to support your vision and to actually get you to where you're going, and fully jump into their roles. And so that was the silver lining. And now that's helped me step back and learn that I'm more than an attorney. I am a CEO. I am an entrepreneur, and I need to put that CEO hat on and run this as a business. And relationships, they matter, but my business and my vision is bigger, and I needed to draft that vision so I can share with anybody that I recruited moving forward so they can fully develop and fight for the people that I fight for every day.
I love it. So you mean that book that you told me to read, Who Not How, you really implemented the strategies that are in that book?
Yes.
So you just talked about how you're an attorney, you owned your practice, but you also realized that you needed a team. So talk to us about why having a team, the who, not how, is so very important.
Now, Lisa, this is so good. I'm going to take my glasses off on this. And so having a team is very important. And the lessons that like I said, it was a blessing in disguise because it made me stop and actually start reading books about leadership and leadership development and the role of a CEO. And with that, the book that you just dropped, name dropped, I shall say, I actually took the time to realize that it's people that enjoy the stuff that I'm sitting here procrastinating doing because I just don't enjoy doing it. And so I started reaching out to the team that I already had to do my social media. And I said, my coach wanted me to do more content. If I decide to get a videographer and come in for 2 hours at a time, do I now need to get an editor? He said, nope, you just record, you can do it on your phone. We just need the video, the content, and we'll do it. I reached out to my intake specialist who has over 25 years in human resources. Like when I'm ready to recruit, do I need to hire an outsourced recruiter? Nope. I'll do the first round interviews for you. I'll let you know because I know how you've been. She's been with me at least 3 years now. So she knows the ins and outs of how I operate and what we're looking for, what kind of clients is calling in and being retained. And so it's just now taking a look at the people that I already have in place and see how we can maximize them and then realize who else we need to put in different seats. And the importance of team, if you want to go far, you can't go alone and you need a team. And so that has been very instrumental in the success that we have seen this year versus the last few years.
Love it, love it, love it. So the other book I got to read is the Teamwork book. And I have to be honest. For me, I got into entrepreneurship because I wanted to be free from the corporate setting, right? So I've worked in large public hospitals, private hospitals as a director, as a manager. And even though my degrees are in healthcare administration, I shied away from those types of roles as I got older because I'm like, I don't want to manage people. I just want to be responsible for me. I'm going to pay these people. They do what they're supposed to do and we're going to be free. And I realized very quickly, you are bringing in the talent, but you still need to some extent, lead and guide the talent so that you build that team and you guys are working together without you having to, micromanage everybody. Because that's one thing that I absolutely hate is being in a situation where I got to watch somebody's every movement, just like I don't want somebody to watch my every movement. So you're the CEO of your company. How do you prioritize your time and stay productive? And you're a mom and a wife.
Yes. So prioritizing my time is honestly set off core deadlines. Luckily for me, we have several deadlines set by the court as soon as we initiate a case. And so from there, kind of schedule that out in addition to after you delegate who's going to take care of what. Also leaving enough time to carve out in my schedule what days I want to physically be in the office because I find I'm more productive in the office at times. And then thirdly, scheduling mommy and me days once a month and date nights at least once a month with no kid. Me and my husband go out to eat with the baby all the time, but just something that's just for our time, just me and him. And then a support system, both of our parents, so my husband's mom and my mom, both are retired, first-time grandparents, so they are more excited. And then I have cousins that I grew up with that are like sisters to me. They'll grab her, do hair, all that stuff. So, just a support system. Same thing, like you said, teamwork within those that you hire. The same thing, you need to use your village to make sure that happens so that you can pivot.
I love it. So it's funny you mentioned village, you mentioned community. In my new book, Grow With Me, I talk about why it's important, number one, to have your intimate village, but then you need to have a community. So you and I met as a part of a community, and I can tell you as an entrepreneur, for a long time, I was a lonely entrepreneur, right? It's so difficult to have a conversation with folks that are the 9-to-5 mindset, and no shade against the 9-to-5 mindset. I personally don't like that lifestyle. But I felt alone in that journey, just trying to navigate the different aspects, right? You got your operations, you got your marketing, you got your sales, you got the work itself.
Mm-hmm.
And me personally, I enjoy the work itself, but all of those other areas, not so much. But I realized if I wanted to grow, not that I needed to be an expert in all those areas, but I needed to embrace the team approach. I needed to embrace my role as an entrepreneur, but the community for me was huge because it allowed me to just have, intimate conversations that involve crying, conversations that involve screaming, which really set me free and allowed me to enjoy the journey with a different mindset.
I love to just go step in my backyard and scream when life gets life, when there's life. It's just hard, whether that's a loss of a loved one, it's something just ain't right with court, clients, husband, any situation. It is a nice relief.
It's freeing.
Yes.
It's freeing. So listen, let's talk, speaking of free, because there's a lot of people that need to be set free. So talk to us about tips for success in terms of, I know every lawsuit is not something that's a successful win, but I think I've heard you talk before about some record-keeping practices that one should have if they feel like they are being discriminated against.
So yes, I want to start off with what you indicated in the beginning. Not everything is worth a lawsuit. I tell people this all the time. As I do different speaking engagements, webinars, and popping up as guests on different podcasts, everything is not worth the lawsuit. I think you definitely want to weigh the balancing act as to what am I actually seeking here. I think you should start with that question, because a lot of times if you're just you want to remain in the workplace, you just want to be under that particular supervisor, or you want some more respect, you want a flexibility in your schedule, whatever it is, you need to ask yourself, one, what exactly am I looking for? Because a lot of times people want to go and sue their employer, but once you put that pen to paper and you file, one, that becomes a public record. And so future employers, if they search your name, just by a regular basic Google search, your lawsuit is now public. Who wants to hire you when you suing former employees? Of course, they're going to now go read the facts of the case, and was it some microaggression, something that you probably could have worked out? What kind of employee are you now going to be when you come to this workplace? So that's something to keep in mind. But one, figure out what exactly you're trying to do and what you're seeking here. And then two, just kind of definitely start being tedious and clear as possible on the note, and a lot of people just fail to take notes. They know that on this day, this particular supervisor did this to me, but you can't tell me who's around you, what was actually said. She said something in a way that made me feel this way. What was said? Why did it make you feel that way? And a lot of times now, like I told you, that act was the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So that means someone was suing before 1964 about workplace discrimination and mistreatment in the workplace. And so now employers have been sued enough times where they're clever. No one is using the N-word like that. If it is, it's very rare. At least no one is directly saying it was enough to have some witnesses around. So you got to be clever. You got to start writing this stuff down as soon as this is going on. You need to approach the person to the left or right of you. Did you hear that? Do you mind writing a statement for me? And then, in addition to taking those notes, getting witness statements, as I just stated, and then actually try to have a conversation with the person that you allege is doing these things towards you. Because a lot of times, I will go to a deposition and I'm representing the plaintiff, aka the employee, and the supervisor's in the room, and the defendants do that on purpose. It's a mechanism to make you feel uncomfortable, and are you going to stick to your guns and actually say what you stated in a complaint now that the person is sitting across from you in this room? And so with that, a lot of times I bring in them for a deposition, the supervisors, and I'll do their deposition, and I'm conducting it. And I didn't know that made her feel this way. Had she just simply told me, we could have worked it out. And then, of course, you got human resource directors and those in a higher role. Like, I could have just separated them. And so think about, what I'm seeking here and how can we communicate this so maybe we can clear it up before it gets too far. Because a lot of people, Leslie, want to sue with this idea, I'm going to become a millionaire, I'm going to get $200,000 to $300,000. The average lawsuit for an employment law settlement is around $30,000 to $40,000. That's because that is the type of money that is carved out annually for an employer's budget. For lawsuits. So we get about 10 lawsuits a year regarding discrimination, and our budget is around $300,000, $400,000. We're going to give you about 30, 40 just to get rid of you, a resignation, a nice settlement agreement, and you go about your business, we'll go about our business. And so it's not, and then you got to share it with an attorney. So a lot of times it's not even worth it, especially if you're a higher wage earner. And then how long it's going to take for you to find the next job, and you're out of work. Unemployment is good when, but you don't get that, it doesn't match what you just lost. So really think through what you're going through. And then also mainly, and I forgot this most important thing, reach out to an employment law attorney. Pay for those consultations. If someone requires you to do an intake on their website, whatever, take the time to do it, because you prefer to do that than get all the way through court with the embarrassment of trying to represent yourself or have an attorney that takes your money and there is no grounds for your case. And now of course, you already told some of your employees, your coworkers, and then the employer already told some of your coworkers as well, because they have to bring them in to investigate and interview them. And so now you have not only the lawsuit out there, but the embarrassment if you lose that lawsuit or it doesn't get far because you're trying to matriculate this process by yourself and you're missing deadlines, you're doing something wrong, and the judge throw your case out. So really think about it. Reach out to these attorneys and see if anyone can assist you. At least give you some guidance on if it's worth pursuing anything.
Oh, I love all of that. I told you guys she was going to be dropping some gems. And I just want to add, I do a lot of leadership workshop trainings, development for staff. And I think something that you said that was really important is about just being willing to have the conversation, right? If you feel that someone is treating you unfairly, get a third person to come in the room with you, and then you just say to that person, I feel that you are bullying me. I feel that you are targeting me. I feel that you're not giving me the opportunities that I am more than qualified for. I've been dedicated to this organization. Just simply having conversations. I think a lot of times we just get angry and we gonna sue, when really maybe it's time for you to just go.
Yeah. And I would like to add to that, use action words. A lot of people know harassing. I get it all the time. My supervisor's harassing me. They're bullying me. What actions did they hit you? Did they follow you to the bathroom? Did they follow you to your car? We need action words to help us describe and articulate to the court, at least to opposing counsel if we're trying to do a settlement, what exactly was happening to you. And so just the idea of harassing and discriminating, you have to actually use the words and terminology. And it's real simple. Somebody hit you, you know how to say somebody hit you, right? So if I filed, you talked about whistleblowing earlier, I filed a complaint, or I call OSHA, or I call the Illinois Attorney General's office because you're in healthcare, and a lot of times people in nursing homes, they're not following the guidelines and treating the patients right. So use those action words. I made a complaint, and after I filed a complaint, my employer became aware of it, and as a result, I got demoted. They fired me. Things like that is what you need to articulate, and it's not as simple as someone is bullying me. And even when you're having those conversations, let them know the exact action that they did to you that made you feel the way you're feeling, so that they can correct their actions.
So basically, let me just sum this up for the folks that are like, that was too deep for me. So basically, you need to take out a piece of paper, notebook, and you need to journal the details of what happened. It was Monday. It was June 5th at 2:20 p.m. I was on a Zoom call, and XYZ was in the Zoom call with me, and this is what transpired, detail by detail by detail. Because then, if you walk in there with a whole notebook of accusations, to me, and again, I'm not an attorney, I just had those 3 classes, criminal law, contract law, and some other law.
And she just attended my webinar, I got those tips.
Right. So I think you just need to, honestly, that's with anything. And you may discover through your journaling process that you just needed to capture what you think is going on, reflect on it, and realize, you know what, this is probably not the place for me. I can go to a different organization who will value me for my skills and my expertise, as opposed to the first response is, I'm going to sue.
Yeah. And I know someone in the audience, as they watch this, is going to say, well, what if I leave my notebook somewhere? If you're scared to do the paper, I still say do the exercise that Lisa just described. You can always put it in the notes section of your phone, Droid or iPhone, and that's something if you got a passcode that only you can have access to, and you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, definitely take notes and be detailed, as she just outlined, the date, who was present, what actions were actually done, the location, and who was present around as far as possible witnesses on your behalf. And a lot of times if you forgot the date, I always tell people, what was the season? Did you have on a coat? Did they have on a coat when this was going on? So at least kind of help us know the season, because there is a statute of limitation. And for most discrimination and harassment claims, it's 300 days. And so that's less than a year. And a lot of people just wait, like Lisa said, you're fed up. But by that time, most of the good claims are now gone. And now it's like this little microaggressions that won't stand up in court.
And I think sometimes when you are emotionally charged by the process or by the situation that's happening, you tend to forget some of those details. So if you unload it, I like to do a brain dump. Mm-hmm. If you dump all that information onto your notebook, your phone is more than just for TikTok and Instagram. If you're capturing that, you have it to be able to just stand up in front of your attorney and say, you know what, these are the particulars of the case. Now, I'm in healthcare, and healthcare is riddled with fraud and abuse. So we know about taking notes about who, what, when, where, and why, so that we can make sure we're protected. So why don't you tell our listening audience how they can find you?
You guys can, well, thank you again for having me. I do appreciate it. This was a wonderful conversation. You all can find me at Chiquita Hall-Jackson, and it's going to be hall-jackson.com. Once again, that is Chiquita Hall-Jackson.com, and then on social at Blow the Whistle Law on both Facebook and Instagram, and that's Blow the Whistle Law.
I love it. I think folks know about Blow the Whistle, especially in healthcare, because again, and you talked about really thinking about, am I just unhappy, or is this lawsuit worthy? In healthcare, if we follow the whistleblower statute, the key TAM provision. I told you I know a little bit about law. You're only going to get a certain percentage of that. So is that certain percentage, whether it's 10% or whatever, worth you having that docket number on the internet? Or is it time for you to put a plan together for growth and make a move? And that move may not be suing. But if you got a case and you've documented, you need to check out Blow the Whistle Law. All right. So do you have any final words of wisdom for our listening, viewing audience that you want to leave us with today?
I would just encourage everyone to, I have my free method that I help people and corporations how to interact while you're at work. And that F stands for figure out. So start out figuring out once you get these jobs, if you're already in there, especially anyone definitely walk into a job, but figure out why I'm here and what is my goal and what is my path while I'm here. Figure it out. Also figure out the diverse makeup of your team, and then get excited about it. So that R is for relish, and so that you can get excited and happy about the possibilities, even if it's just to use this job for 1 year to go to the next position, as Lisa said. And then E is for educate. Educate yourself on the policies and procedures. So many people have handbooks so thick, but they don't even read them. Go through the policies and procedures and learn your own sections of harassment, discrimination, or any other sections that you might want. The disciplinary action handbook, it talks about the hierarchies and if you should have various steps or they can go straight to termination. You want to know that yourself even prior to reaching out to an attorney. And then just educate yourself on the different makeups of those that's around you, and maybe the way they're saying something is not as offensive in their culture And maybe you won't take it as, wrong. And it's vice versa from you. You might say something they took wrong. Like, that's not what I meant. I remember my little cousin, I gave her internship at a law firm I worked at when I was younger. And she called one of the attorneys stupid, but she was laughing as she was saying it. And, in our culture, or at least in certain neighborhoods, you stupid boy, you funny, like that part, right? So that's what she was saying. But he looked like taking it back, like you just insulted me, right? And so it's just a lot of times, like I said, if you educate that and then embrace the difference that each one of us have, and embrace the difference and the journey in which you're going to face in this work culture. And I believe it'll definitely help you matriculate and be more happy in work.
Well, I want to thank you for having the conversation today. I am pretty sure that you are going to get a few inquiries, because I think sometimes people are afraid to speak up. And so I think just really, number one, seeing an attorney that is approachable, that is knowledgeable, all the able ending words, makes individuals feel comfortable. Now listen, if you don't have those notes, do your intake, inquiry, consultation, but just know you can't go in there with a bunch of hearsay. I told you I went to law school for just a semester or two, but you really want to think through your next steps. And sometimes it's just you are just emotionally charged about a situation, and you really just need to part ways. Mm-hmm. And it's okay. I think back in the day they used to say, you get a job and you stay there for 30 years and you retire. We're not living in those times anymore. If you are in an environment that is not working for you, sometimes the best solution is to just part ways.
Part ways, and there's a thing called severance package. We can help you with that as well. Get you a severance, set yourself up before you start your own career, or just something to hold you off until you get to your next opportunity.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of the Growth Motivator Live. I'm Dr. Lisa L. Campbell. Until next time.